In my life there came a time when I had to make a change. You know, the things just weren't right. I looked around for someone else to blame. I searched and I reached down inside. And I knew when I found there's a light I can hide. I can be free. I can be free. I can rise above. I can be free. I can be free. I can rise above. When you're all alone and there's nowhere left to go, the truth is right in front of you. You will see it will make a better road. You search and you reach down inside. And you look when you find there's a light you can't hide. You can be free. You can rise above. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live at KSCO. Sorry for coming on a little late here. I was struggling with my Facebook page to try to get it started. So anyhow, it's a nice, beautiful weekend here so far. So glad to be see the change in the weather. It's one thing that we don't see a lot of in this county or this part of the world is a lot of weather change. So it's really nice to see that. So today I was going to talk about just the truth and health. I was going to call it truth or consequences, but then my camera got messed up. I'm still messing with it a little bit there. So hopefully this will work now. Maybe I'm just not supposed to broadcast this one. There we go, go live. Nope. All right. So a couple things that I wanted to go over is, you know, there's so many different parts of our life, our health, that we got to take into account when we're looking at how we can become as healthy as we should be, right? You know, so many people take care of their cars impeccably, not everybody, you know, but you do keep it running well. You go and you get it tuned up when you need to. You'd have your house in pretty good order. Most of your things are taken care of. And when you see a red light go on or some kind of indication that something isn't healthy, like water dripping down the, you know, the wall with winter coming, you definitely want to pay attention to that. But okay, I'm having a great morning, great start here. I just found out I didn't have my mic turned up, so now I do. This is a sign of dysfunction, and that means that, you know, when all your synapses aren't synapsing correctly, things can go a wee bit awry or a lot awry. And so when we're talking about our health, we really want to pay attention to, you know, the symptoms, the things that come up that tell us that something isn't going right. So many of us try to take such good care of our body by working out, by eating right, you know, drinking enough water, keeping ourselves out of stressful situations as much as possible. That's been a little bit difficult to do over the last several years, but You know, a lot of times when people come into my office and they have chronic disease that is occurring, they'll say something along the line of, well, I've been eating really well. And I'll say, really? Well, tell me about your diet or your exercise plan or what have you. And they'll tell me, and how long have you been doing that? Probably, either 6 months or 3 years. And I go, that is amazing. But it's not what you've been doing for the last 3 months to 6 years. It's what you've done for the last 40 to 60 to 80 years that has really caused you to be in the shape you're in. So sometimes you can't just change your diet and expect all those years of toxicity and trauma to just disappear out of the body. You need to step back and take a look at ways to handle that or ways to correct it. Right now, I'm taking on this project of rewriting my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, for the second edition for a couple of reasons. Well, the main reason being that so much has changed in the last 3 to 5 years since I started writing this book and finished it and published it, that I wanted to update it to really be current on some of the understandings of what's changing in science. We know that our body has this incredible ability to heal, called innate intelligence. We know the greatest physician who ever lived lives right inside our body. And we just need to unleash its power and unshackle it so that it can do what it knows how to do. Now, there's 3 stressors that will stop or impede our body from healing or staying healthy and thriving. Only 3. So if you can handle those 3 stressors, then you can have a healthy life. So number 1 is physical. This is what got me into my profession many, many years ago when I fell out of a tree and injured my back really severely. And I was hindered from surviving or flourishing and prospering, number 1, from the physical impact of falling out of a tree and actually breaking my back at 12 years old. And it took me probably 16 years until I actually got some relief from that. I was 28 years old when everything that occurred after falling out of that tree, from medications, from the doping of the symptoms, which even made my dyslexia worse, to where I didn't even try to read because it was so frustrating. The different groups that I hung out with because of my physical limitations and the things that caused flare-ups in my back to make it so I couldn't walk. Those things all shaped my life to that degree. And it was not looking good because I was completely guided by my pain, or the management of my pain, or whatever I needed to do to get out of it owned me. That pain owned me. And it wasn't until I found ways until I actually found what the cause was and actually took the steps necessary to fix it, that I became free of that. Now, in this society right now, we're always looking for the magic pill or the magic drug. It doesn't exist. The best way out is through. And what I mean by that is, if your body over 40 years, 30 years developed something like diabetes, diabetes is, 60% of the adult population have been diagnosed with diabetes or are pre-diabetic. Diabetes is the number 1 cause of preventable blindness, limb amputation, kidney failure. It increases your risk of cancer, stroke, heart attack, all of those terrible diseases or life-threatening conditions that can cause your demise. But one of the other things that all of those that I just mentioned, including limb amputation, before that occurs deadening of the nerves going to any of those organs. Because if the nerves were communicating correctly with the body, with the brain, then your body would correct this. It's a self-correcting mechanism. And but when you have interference with the communication, the body can't do what it's done for millions of years, and that is to keep the body healthy and keep it out of harm's way. That's our number one goal of the body, is to survive. And as long as we can watch those three stressors and minimize them, or learn what damage they've done and figure out the ways to undo the damage. And believe me, as an individual, you're much better off finding people that have spent years and years and years and hours and hours and hours doing it or learning it, which I have. I've spent hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours studying with some of the great people like Dr. Dan Pompa, Dr. Dan McCleinen, who's helping me work with the peripheral neuropathy patients, or the cellular toxicity, the thyroid disease, the Hashimoto's disease patients. These kind of people that in Western medicine, there's not a lot of solution because they're not really addressing the upstream cause, which I will go into in a few minutes. But so we were talking about the physical stressors. One of three stressors, physical. This is damage to the physical body, be it, accident, injury, repetitive trauma, any of those things that will stop the communication from the brain to the body and the body to the brain, so that the healing process is diminished and can never rise to the occasion to actually fix the body. So that is, I've spoke of peripheral neuropathy a few weeks ago, and we're having some pretty amazing results just to beginning with. I mean, I've been using the tissue regenerative therapy machine, the SoftWave machine, for 5 years now, and we've really made some huge impact on people with peripheral neuropathy, because the stem cell machine actually helps with a term called angiogenesis. Angiogenesis means new blood vessel growth in that area, whatever area it would be. And the stem cell machine, or the SoftWave therapy machine, actually will increase the growth of these new capillaries. Again, this process is called angiogenesis in the area it's used. So that's huge. And we also know that red light therapy and infrared light, used correctly with the right prescription of lights. In other words, there's been a lot of science put together to find out how to increase the oxygenation in the area of usage based on what you're trying to achieve. And if you're trying to achieve increase in blood flow or oxygen to the tissues, specifically the nerves in this instance, then you're going to actually want to make sure that you have the right equipment, because there's, like anything, a lot of false claims out there. So the two ways that we really work with increasing oxygen to the body on the area in question would be, of course, the stem cell machine, the tissue regenerative therapy machine, that is, and then the red light therapy or infrared therapy. And then the third way is with biofeedback. And there's a process in which we can have the signal from let's say, the tips of your toes up to your brain. We can stimulate that signal 8 times a second with biofeedback. And what this does is it reestablishes the correct flow and the correct current of communication up and down the nerve channel. The term is called neuroplasty. Neuroplasty means nerve plastia, the ability of the nerves to regrow. And all of the science shows that the peripheral nerves, the nerves outside of your spine or the peripheral nervous system, will regenerate and grow for an entire life. So what we see is people that have had nerves cut, whether with surgeries in their around their arm area, we see that often, or even in the lower extremities, those nerves deaden. But a lot of times, if you catch it in time and you do the right stuff faster than the wrong things can occur to break it down, you will see a regeneration and a reestablishment of function in these areas. So this is very cool. So at this point, what I've been talking about is physical causation of things that impair your ability to enjoy your life. And that's one of the 3 stressors. I'm going to take a short break and we'll come back and go over the other 2. Thank you for being here. Sorry for the false start. I'll be right back.
I can be free. I can be free. I can rise above.
Hi, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Gayleen, here, who walked into our office, well, barely walked into our office, and she'd had a lot of attempts in trying to fix her health, and she's had some tremendous changes here. So I was wondering if you would like to just tell our audience about that.
Well, like Dr. McCollum said, I came into the office in December, hardly able to walk and bent over. And within 3 visits, I was standing up straight, walking. I couldn't believe it. That's never happened to me before. It's been a very rough road, but we're getting there, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and you had 2 back surgeries as well, right?
Yes, I did. Yep, in 1995. Yeah.
And so they didn't really solve your problem.
No, they didn't.
And you came in, we did some stem cell treatments on you and some chiropractic on you, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're happy.
I'm happy. Everyone here is just awesome. They're all here to help you. They're all so sweet. And I'm glad I came here.
Thank you so much, Gayleen. And I just really appreciate you being here as well. You're such a pleasure when you come in.
Thanks.
So you should listen to Gayleen, see if we can help your health.
That's right. Anyone that needs help, please come in.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Duncan McCollum here, and I have Pastor Mark with me. He came in and experienced the stem cell machine, the TRT machine, and he wanted to just go ahead and tell you a little bit of his experience. Yeah, I injured my knee years ago from sports and being dumb, and after the first stem cell treatment, after the very first one, I could do a full knee squat, and doctors told me that we want to replace your knee, and my knee would just ache just from sitting, and you probably experienced that if you have knee problems, but now, no ache, I can walk without pain. And when I sit, I have no pain. And I just love it. I'd recommend it to anybody. It's terrific. When we look at your x-ray, your discs and your knees look pretty good too. Yeah, they're improving so much. I just love it. I can't wait for my treatment every week. Highly recommend it to anyone. So you'd recommend they do the $49 special to see if it will work for them? Oh, absolutely. That's what drove me in was the $49 special. I thought I got $50 to spend to just see, and it certainly paid off. Call 831-459-9990. Thanks.
All alone, and there's nowhere left to go. The truth is right in front of you. You will see it will make a better road.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. McCollum. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. McCollum. I'm back. And having some technical difficulties today, but I think we got it squared away. So I've been talking about the 3 stressors that are going to affect your health. And we just covered the physical stressors all the way down to the nerves that go down to your very tip of your toes. And what you need to do are what we can do to reestablish function there. Now, nerves, just like every other part of your body, require oxygen. And oxygen actually feeds the nerves, and there's a sheath around every of the peripheral nerves in your body, the ones outside your spine, that is called a myelin sheath, and it is filled up with everything necessary to take care and nourish the nerve. One of them is it's loaded with capillaries to serve oxygen to the nerve. Just like everything, you deprive oxygen, and anything that needs oxygen to survive will start to die. So in your feet, your toes, your hands, your fingers, you start to lose that oxygenization because of toxicity, pinched or physical trauma to the nerves. So I am going to go now into the second stressor that we have, and I finally got the Facebook to work, so we missed first part of the show, but and that is the biochemical or chemical components that can damage and cause your body to start to fail. And these chemicals are, there's plenty of them, believe me. We have 250 billion tons of different type of toxins that are dumped on the planet every year. And also we are born into this life with a ton of these toxins. We get heavy metals and toxins 4 generations down through mom's umbilical blood. So, and then we have our genetic predilection to be able to withstand the environment before our body starts to fail and genetic diseases kick in. You know, we have genes that we've heard about: Alzheimer's genes, cancer genes, heart attack genes, multiple sclerosis genes, Parkinson's genes. All these genes, we all pretty much have them. We have 20,000 to 25,000 different genes in our body, and 99% of all of our DNA is in our chromosomes. They're all 99% the same. We're only different from each other by 1%. But those genes get expressed. They express blue eyes, white hair, blonde hair, dark hair, brown eyes, green eyes. Those are genes that are turned on or expressing themselves. So when something expresses itself, that's when you start to have the ramifications, good or bad, of it. So when you have a toxic environment, which we live in the most toxic time in human existence, then if your body's able to get the toxins out of your body quickly, you will live a relatively healthy life. But we're in a society where the amount of stuff we put in our body, and especially if we haven't been told or haven't studied differently, we might be prone to eating a lot of the boxed foods that are on the shelves that we see advertised on TV and or radio, and anything in a box is pretty much going to be dead food for, really for the most part. I was just watching something today about how the FDA companies are able to get around the FDA quote regulations unquote. For instance, there are certain preservatives that they can't put in the foods, and they have to say that this particular product is BPA exempt, or there's nothing in it. But now we know that they can put it on the inside of the plastic that's containing these particular crackers, and because it's not in the food itself, it's on the lining of the plastic around the food, they don't have to say that it's there. So profit is huge over, profitability over health. And so buyer beware. I think that the safest way, if you are suffering any kind of health issues and you want to try to do some things yourself, I would say when you go into the grocery store, go to the organic produce section. Once you're done there, go to the organic dairy section. If you're going to eat dairy, make sure it's organic, or organic butter. Make sure you're getting organic olive oil. And if you go to the meat department, get organic meat. And then stay away from anything down the center aisles, all of the canned and packaged everything. Because when you pick it up and read what's on those labels, usually there'll be words you can't understand and don't know what they mean. And that's just telling you it's the manufacturer's way of hiding products. So that's the food portion of toxicity. We already know that a lot of the grains, most of the grains in the United States, are sprayed liberally with glyphosate, which is Roundup, and the food has been genetically altered to be able to withstand high doses of Roundup so that they can get a better yield out of the crops. And because the food source or the substance we're talking about has been modified to handle the glyphosate, they can harvest it much easier. And when they, but the stuff has still been tainted with that stuff that gets into our body. Even when you look at farmed fish, or grain-fed animals. All of those grains probably come from fields that are sprayed with, the chemical fertilizers and or pesticides or herbicides that literally you don't want in your body. So it might seem daunting, but you have one body, and if you take care of it, it will take care of you. We also have the industry, that since the early 1900s and probably a little before, we have 114,000 different elements not elements, but substances that we've created. And there's byproducts of those things we create, unintentional chemical compounds that are created out of the production of certain wanted materials comes unwanted. And we don't even know the ramifications of that till oftentimes it's too late. So it's important to just be, to take a look at what's, where your health is and figure out what you want to do to keep it as healthy as possible. Now, a lot of times our bodies at this point, if we have chronic disease, which 80 million Americans have multiple chronic diseases, according to Michigan State University, then those chronic diseases are usually damaging organs, tissues, muscles, ligaments, joints, to a point where they're going to handicap you, and they're going to burden you down to a point where life is not as livable as it should be. So it's really important to understand that you can do stuff about it, but you just need to get the right information. And then decide if you're willing to make the steps, or take the steps. I have a thing in my office by Hippocrates that says, before you can help anybody, you got to make sure that they're willing to stop doing the things that got them in the wrong place, unhealthy in the first place, something along that line. And, I bring that up to patients that I can see maybe struggling with, is this something that I want to do right now? Am I ready to do this? Has my life gotten to a position where it's time to make a change? And so, maybe it isn't for you. Maybe you're not quite there and you're willing to just kind of chug along until the next foot drops. And that's no pun intended, a foot drop with peripheral neuropathy, because what happens is this stuff is so insidious, your life just slowly goes away. That's one of the phrases one of my colleagues used to say, don't worry about your health, it will go away. And it does. I mean, very rarely does anybody die of old age anymore in this country. They die of chronic disease. They don't just die of the organs wearing out. And even then, if you understand how to turn back your biological clock, these things called telomeres, which are the longevity indicators on your strands of DNA and chromosomes, then that there's a way to lengthen these life expectancy strands to get them longer. Every time a cell divides, they go shorter and shorter and shorter. We all have our own sentence on this planet. And once those telomeres are done, you can no longer survive. So some of us come into life with a much longer expectancy than others. I had my telomeres tested, I think 5 or 6 years ago, and my telomeres came back as those of the average 23-year-old. I've had other friends do them, and they're in their 60s, and their telomeres tell them that their body is aged to be 70 or 80 now. So you can get your telomeres tested by going to teleyears, YEARS, teleyears.com. Costs about $100 to order a kit, prick your finger and send it in, and then they'll give you a report back of how old your body is based on your telomeres. So it's a pretty cool thing to do, pretty interesting. So this whole thing about the chemistry of your body comes down to how bad are the environmental toxins and toxins you actually create in your body in the process of creating energy. How are they affecting your health? How are they affecting your body? We're 75 trillion cells, live cells, and inside each one of those cells is a something called a mitochondria, several of them. Your heart has the most of any, I think, as well as your eye. They're both of them have a lot of these energy producing engines in them, kind of like the carburetor of your car. But these things produce energy to keep us alive. If you have a nice, clean environment inside the cell and around the cell, hormones, minerals, other substances, elements get into the cell and out of the cell. Ketones, which are fuel, and glucose, which fuel, get into the cell to the mitochondria so it can make energy. And then we have to get rid of that toxic buildup produced from making energy, just like any internal combustion engine. And those toxins, like the exhaust coming out of your exhaust pipe, have to get out of the car. So when we're toxic, this breaks down. This whole system gets plugged up. It's like sticking a potato in your exhaust pipe. You're going to start to get inflamed. You're going to have chronic inflammation throughout your body. And this is going to affect your organs. It's going to surround, your vital organs. At a cellular level, it's going to shut down your energy, which is going to shut down your immune system. And your immune system, part of it actually is what kills and eats and recognizes and then kills and then eats cancer cells, because cancer cells are aberrant cells. There's millions of them produced a day. Your body's able to kill millions of them a day. And as long as your body can keep housekeeping on all of these bad cells, be them cancer cells or what we call zombie cells now, cells that have spent they're basically done their term of duty and they're no longer useful. They just sit around in the body and use up energy and produce nothing. And if anything, they take up energy, and then they start to rot, kind of like an apple in a bunch of apples. One of them rots and then it will take the others with it. So detoxification is very important, because when you detoxify, you can change the rapidity of the dysfunction of cells. In other words, we can start to slow down how quickly these cells get sick and turn over their life cycle. And there's a term called autophagy, which I talk about a lot, autophagy, which is how your body will go and scavenge the whole body, basically, and look for old cells that are dying, damaged, shouldn't be there, and they'll break them down and use those for energy, or they will eliminate them out of the body. So autophagy is really key. It's a very cool thing discovered by Dr. Yoshinori Asumi. And well, we knew about it, but he was doing some research on autophagy and discovered that in 3-day water fast, autophagy was at its highest. Around the same time, Dr. Walter Longo, who was at USC, was studying the production of stem cells, because our body constantly makes stem cells. We come from one cell, which duplicated and duplicated and duplicated till we became the body that we are. So when we have autophagy working, which is breaking down old used up cells, and we can produce more stem cells to help go in, repair, and regenerate the body parts needed, that's kind of a perfect world. You just have to learn how to do it safely and how to cycle in and out of it, because this is something that we're learning, a term called diet variation that Dr. Pompa teaches about quite a bit. But the body loves diversity. It's a term called hormesis, HORMESIS, hormesis. And basically the definition of hormesis is you present something with a little bit of a toxin, which isn't enough to kill it, but by giving it that toxin, it can learn to fight and sustain exposure to the toxin. It's kind of how homeopathy works, but it's what hardens your body or strengthens your body. Think about somebody who's working out at a gym. They go and they work out 3 days a week or whatever, and they're doing it in such a way that they're actually building muscle mass and their body's getting stronger and stronger. And every time they do it, they break down the muscle a little bit, but then it comes back stronger. So that's good. That's a good stress on the body. But if you overtrain, your body doesn't have the chance to rebuild itself, and you'll actually break down the muscles and weaken them and be more prone to injury. So hormesis is, the idea of enough to increase a change positively. And if you overcome that amount, then you're going to create a negative effect on your body. So any diet, the ketogenic diet, you want to be able to understand how to use it successfully, but then move out of it for a few months. And seasonal is a very good way to do it. And then you might take on a paleo diet, which has the process is completely different. And its whole design is to build more organs and muscle. So that's another idea of hormesis, where you do one diet and then you stop and do another one. If you do the same one over and over and over again, it's not going to be effective, and actually probably will be harmful to you. You'll just break down too much tissue, too much muscle if you stay on a ketogenic diet. So one of the things that's dangerous, in my opinion, about the internet, there are many, but is the fact that a lot of times people get on there and start to read something, go, well, that's a great idea. And they have a little bit of information, and then they just go for it without really understanding the full ramifications, and they can hurt themselves. So I'm going to take another short break. Thank you for listening. I'll be back in just a couple minutes.
When you find there's a light you can hide.
Hey, Dave.
You can be free. You can rise above. You can be free.
Hey, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Lauren, here, and she had a few things to say.
Hi, I'm Lauren Spencer, a local realtor, and I've been seeing Duncan for years now. I had a biking accident, and he's been adjusting me since then, and it's been amazing. But lately, I've had trouble with my feet, and I'm an avid walker, avid biker, avid golfer, and my feet were aching all the time. And I tried Duncan's TRT machine, which is an amazing stem cell machine that rejuvenates the cells. And my feet, I've had like 3 or 4 sessions with the machine, and my feet are like new, no aches, no pains. It's a miracle. So I really highly recommend Duncan and his chiropractic services, but also that TRT machine. You got to try it. Thanks.
Wow, thanks, Lauren. That was awesome. So we still have the $49 special. Come on in and see if it works for you. Thank you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I would like you to listen to a couple testimonials from my patients about our new TRT machine. You should come try it, but here's what they have to say.
I got knocked out by a horse, and I got a grade 2 pull on my hamstring, and from there everything went to hell. Basically, I was walking 3.5 miles a day. I went from that to walking less and less because it was so painful, and my other knee started hurting me. And then I stepped off a ladder and jammed my knee. It took me the next morning 5 minutes by the time I stood up to get out of my bedroom. It was so painful. At the same time, I found out about the TRT from the doc, and I knew that that was for me. So almost feeling completely normal. So it's been great. I was walking stiff-kneed on one side because it was just flopping out of place. Now I can bend my knee and walk. I totally recommend this one time, and you'll just go, whoa.
You don't realize how much you use your toes for balance until there's no feeling in them. And so I've got the feeling back in my toes, and my balance is greatly improved. Definitely recommend it.
So call today for your $49 introductory special on the TRT machine to see if it works for you. Call 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990. McCollum Family Chiropractic.
And no one's around. Just try to remember the strength that we found. Yeah. We can be free. We can be free.
Hey, everybody, Dr. Duncan McCollum back, and I appreciate all those patients giving those testimonials. It's so fun to see the changes in their lives. The magic of this machine is unbelievable, and we still see these miracles all the time. So if you haven't tried it yet, I recommend that you do. It certainly changed my life when I couldn't lift my arm at all, my right arm. And I tried everything, then around the country, even down to Mexico to get some work done on it. And then I found out about this machine from Dr. Dan Pompa's son. Jumped off of a cliff, missed the water, 60 feet down. He landed on his heels, shattering them, and then broke three bones in his thoracic spine, crushed them. They were going to put a steel cage around his back, 21-year-old. And, you know, for anybody that's devastating, but for a chiropractor to have your son in that position is just unthinkable. So finally, as they were actually considering the steel cage, somebody, a friend, came up and said, try this thing. It was so new in the country, nobody knew about it. And they started working with him with this, as well as fasting, red light therapy, and several other different things. And within 4 weeks, the kid was walking. And within 6 weeks, he was in Europe. I went, okay, that was right about the time I was searching for a way to get my arm back, my health back. So I went and had a treatment, and I could raise my arm by 40%, where I couldn't even lift it off of the side at all. And then it went to 80%, so I bought one. I've been using it in our office ever since. We've done thousands of these treatments with amazing results. And you just got to find out if it's going to work for you. And if it changes your life, great. You know, the worst thing that can happen is you'll be the same. And that isn't, we don't want that. All right, let's get back to the 3 stressors. We've talked about the physical stressor in detail, what happens to the nerves, how the life of the nerve starts to diminish as it's losing communication to the brain. We've talked about the oxygen necessary around the nerve to keep the nerve alive, and the sheath around the nerve called the myelin sheath. We also know that the peripheral nerves, which are the nerves outside of your spine, continue to grow for a lifetime. So if they're starting to die for any reason, or they're shrinking up or retracting back out of your extremities or your organs, by the way, then there's a lot that can be done if you know how to do it. And it's a multifaceted approach. Number one, you've got to make sure that whatever's toxifying it, whether it's physical, chemical, or emotional, or mental, you have to get or eliminate those or reduce them as much as possible. Then you have to give the right nutrients to those parts of the body. And then you need to do the things that will help the nerve regenerate. And we know that the stem cell machine will do it, the soft wave therapy machine. Infrared therapy will actually add to the angiogenesis, which is what the soft wave therapy machine does 3 things. It pushes out inflammation, the bad inflammation, increasing good inflammation, which will bring in good new nutrients to the area. It increases the formation of capillaries to the area, which will bring more oxygen to those nerves that are being damaged. And it will also bring in your own stem cells to help replace and replicate the damaged tissue. So one thing that's really interesting is we started from one cell at one point, way back when. That one cell had all of our DNA, had basically all 23 chromosomes from mom, 23 from dad, and then it had 20,000 to 25,000 genes that each in one cell, that every time it split, it transferred that same information, but every cell differentiated into an arm, a leg, a liver, a kidney, an eye, a brain, an ear, and all from the same information in the same cell. Those same cells have, within that 20,000 to 25,000 genes, have all the Alzheimer's genes, all of the cancer genes, all of the rheumatoid arthritis genes, how come some people develop those and some don't? There's a lot of information to be found about that, but you know, how come it decided to become a finger rather than an arthritic inflamer, you know? So the body knows what to do. We just have to get out of its way and help it. So chiropractic is amazing. It's evaluating what's going on with the nervous system, and we detect and correct nerve dysfunction. We call it a subluxation. Sub means less. Luxation means turning down the light. So less light. So that's what we work with. And then on the chemical way, basically, what we do is we help your downstream detox pathways open up. So the liver cleanses your blood. Every cell in your body, blood cell in your body, goes through your liver 4 times a minute, goes completely throughout your body 4 to 5 times a minute. And then one thing that's kind of cool, it goes through the spleen. Every blood cell goes through the spleen 4 to 5 times a minute. And the spleen is this cool organism, which is like a quality control organism. Every blood cell comes through, the spleen kind of takes it, squishes it. If it passes muster, it lets it flow out again. If it's too weak and it squishes it, it pops and degenerates, and that's the end of that cell. But all of the substances in that cell are either used for fuel, recycled to make new blood cells, or eliminated out of the body. So that is one of the cool things about all the organs. They all have these amazing purposes. So the liver's main purpose, there's over 500 we know of, but is to make sure that it is ready to detoxify any substance that gets into the body that is harmful to the body. So some of these chemicals made by Homo saps might take years to develop, but when it gets into the body, the liver has a nanosecond to break it down and eliminate it, or it would overwhelm us and kill us. So our bodies are incredible. They're incredible what they can do. So the first phase of helping your body detoxify is to clean up and repair any of the downstream pathways, like your intestine. If you have leaky gut syndrome or colitis or any of those problems with your colon, we need to heal the cell wall so we can get rid of the leaky gut. And we do that. As long as we can get rid of the chemical compounds and toxins that are in there, if we can restore proper liver detoxification and function, make sure that the gallbladder, which the stuff in the liver is dumped into the gallbladder, which dumps into the large intestine to help digest fats, make sure all those pathways are open, make sure your kidney and liver is working well as your urinary tract. The skin is another detoxifier, so substances have to come out of the skin, and then the lungs, of course, which repels or gets rid of different gases. So we are, because I have an incredible doctor, Dr. Taylor Pascal, who's taken over the chiropractic end of things for me, it's allowing me to do these amazing projects, which are working with detoxifying the body, which I love to do. It's been very difficult being a one-man band to do that, but I have the wherewithal to do it now. So you can get on the website and get the neurotoxic questionnaire, fill it out. It's McCollumWellness.com, and send it in. And if it looks like I can help you, we can do a 15-minute phone consultation just to find out if it's right for you, if you're ready, and whether or not I think we can work together. The second thing that I'm really working with is the peripheral neuropathy. So people that are losing their balance, unable to drive or afraid of driving, they can't feel their foot on the pedal. They're having difficulty sleeping because the sheet on their feet is causing too much pain. They might feel like they have weights around their feet or club feet, or like you have marshmallows in your shoes. All these different things, hot and cold, burning sensations, make you not want to go out and be with your children, your grandkids, or potentially you're unsteady in the garden and you love to garden. So these are the things that are amazing downstream effects of all of the different toxins in the body and the damage to the body, be it diabetes, cancer from chemotherapy, X-ray radiation, alcoholism, smoking, stroke, heart disease, heart attack, thyroid dysfunction. All of these things are going to affect the peripheral nerves, and down at the extremities, they can cause you to lose your freedom. So we're working with peripheral neuropathy patients now. And if you know anybody that has them, or you yourself does, you can call our office, and there's we'll send you a 25 questionnaire that you fill out, send in, and then if it looks like we can help you, we'll let you know. We'll have you come in for some testing, and if it makes sense, we'll move forward or refer you to somebody we think would be more suited to help you. So I've gone over 2 of the 3 stressors, that being the physical. The second one is chemical. Now the last one is something that is probably within your grasp, I hope, but it's going to take a lot of work on your part. And it's called spiritual, emotional, or mental stressors. Now, there are a lot of times. I talked to a person the other day who really wanted help, but she was living with somebody that was so basically brutal to her that there's no way she could get well because the endocrine system was so messed up. So we have to take a look at our physical environment, see how we are being affected emotionally by things that we're doing. And maybe you've got to change. Maybe you just got to pull your belt up and go, okay, that's it. I'm going to quit complaining about this or that, or I'm going to stop being the victim of all this. And I'm going to just figure out how to do the best I can to get over it. Because that's the choice, right? And but I'll tell you, the one vitamin that you can take for this, there isn't a vitamin that you can take for this third stressor, and it's pretty amazing. It's free, and there's an abundance of it, and all you need to do is get it, and it's called vitamin G. Vitamin G is G for gratitude. Rather than finding things that are wrong with everything, be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for the people you know, for the ones that care about you and the ones that don't care about you. Just be grateful that you're here. And vitamin G is the greatest healer there is, because it talks to you spiritually and it talks to you mentally. And as you are experiencing the great effects of vitamin G, share it with others. Go out and say hi to people who you wouldn't normally say hi to. Go out, and when you're out to dinner, you see somebody who works at the place and they're kind of grumpy, or they may not even look in the eye. Just say, hey, hope you're having a good day. It goes a long way. Try it for a week, and then I'll be here next week. Sorry about the little bit of a glitch this morning. I'll see y'all next week. Have a great day. Hey, Dave. Hope all's well.